Happy July 5th! Hope you had a good break if you were able to take off for the most American of holidays yesterday. I'm Stella Chung, filling in for Akeem, and today Disney Plus is deleting content from its library, and subscribers are understandably upset. Amazon's latest blockbuster deal is a $250 million flop, the Barney movie won't be for kids, and more. As Akeem would say, let's drop it. It appears that Disney Plus is taking a page from the competition's playbook and removing content from the service. The original sci-fi movie Crater has been pulled from their lineup a mere 2 months after it debuted. Crater is, or I guess was, a sci-fi adventure flick about a group of teens living on the moon who decide to explore a mysterious crater. According to The Independent, the budget for the movie came in at $53.4 million, and it's received favorable reviews with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 64%. So what happened? Of course, Disney hasn't even acknowledged they've pulled the movie from the service, but a search on the US version of Disney Plus turns up with nothing. Rival service Max, owned by Warner Bros. Discovery, has also taken heat for removing original content from the platform with no official reason given. There's some speculation it has to do with avoiding paying royalties. The rules are fairly clear-cut in regard to how actors and filmmakers are compensated for more traditional forms of media distribution, but streaming is still kind of a gray area, which was one factor that led to the ongoing WGA writer strike. Generally speaking, actors, depending on their contract, make more money if a movie they're in makes a certain amount at the box office. That's pretty straightforward when you're dealing with ticket sales, but big-budget original streaming movies are effectively free to subscribers paying for the service. So you can see why studios might be pinching pennies. Those royalty payments for streaming content could be eating into profits for those companies, and it might make more financial sense to just remove certain movies or shows from the service instead of paying up. Of course, individual contracts between talent or crew and the studios making content aren't usually public, so we're only speculating. In the case of Disney, specifically CEO Bob Iger has already made it known they plan to cut content from Disney Plus. Via Variety, Iger is trying to save about $3 billion this year after losing about $1 billion on the service. The company also faces a content impairment charge of $1.5 to $1.8 billion. A content impairment charge is basically what corporations write down in their accounting books to write off assets that have declined in value. Simply said, Disney has expensive assets that have lost value, and they're looking to save money somewhere. The removal of content from streaming services has raised alarms regarding media preservation. With less physical media like Blu-rays being made and sold, streaming may be the only way audiences will get to watch anything, and if a provider removes content from the service, it could effectively be lost forever. Are you worried that your favorite streaming service will start deleting content? And when's the last time that you bought a movie or show on Blu-ray? Let me know in the comments. In kind of related news, Amazon's Citadel is reportedly a flop. The spy thriller was meant to be the first season in a huge connected franchise and reportedly lost $250 million. Yikes. In a report from Bloomberg, not only did critics not care for the show, the Amazon Prime audience didn't turn up either, with ratings tanking since its debut. Citadel premiered on April 28th of this year, and since then it has failed to break into the 10 most watched streaming shows in the US. However, it did briefly enter Prime's own top 10 for streaming originals, so that's something. Citadel is an ambitious spy thriller that even before hitting Prime already had several multi-language spin-offs in the works, and those shows were supposedly all set in the same cinematic universe and tied into a larger narrative. Amazon hasn't removed it from the Prime Video service yet, and several of the spin-offs are still happening apparently. Switching gears, Five Nights at Freddy's producer Jason Blum wants to turn more game franchises into movies. Via discussing film, Blum said, quote, "I think the right video games make great source material for movies. I mean, you saw that even with the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It's a different genre, but it's an amazingly successful movie." He's not wrong about that. The Mario Bros. Movie, it's made $1.3 billion in theaters worldwide, which is why Blum wants to lean harder into game adaptations. He and filmmaker James Wan, the man behind the Conjuring and Insidious film franchises, have a company together and are working to build out a games division. Probably not to make games, but to adapt games into movies. He said Wan is a, quote, big gamer and is looking to adapt more games into movies. They already have their next target, Dead by Daylight. But in the meantime, we'll see how Five Nights at Freddy's turns out when it hits theaters this October. And speaking of terrifying, fuzzy animal mascot-looking creatures, the upcoming Barney movie may not be for kids. Via The New Yorker, the Daniel Kaluuya-led film is more for grown-ups. Mattel exec Kevin McKeon said, quote, "We're leaning into the millennial angst of the property rather than fine-tuning this for kids. It'll focus on some of the trials and tribulations of being 30-something, growing up with Barney, just the level of disenchantment within the generation." Really, it makes sense. While some people might be nostalgic for Barney, he didn't have quite the same staying power or legacy as other shows made for young children like Sesame Street or Thomas the Tank Engine. Barney hasn't been on the air since 2010, so anyone who has fond memories of the purple dinosaur in 2023 is likely approaching adulthood. I'm personally eagerly awaiting Michael Bay's gritty take on Paw Patrol in 2038.
We ride together. We die together. Bad boys for life.
Come on, you'd watch it. Bad Boys 2 with dogs? Anyways, the Barney project is still in early development, and it's being pitched to partners as an A24-type film. So that puts it anywhere between Marcel the Shell and Hereditary. In the meantime, Mattel does have another big screen property coming out very soon, the Barbie movie, which is going head-to-head with Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer in just a few weeks. Which one are you seeing first? Let me know in the comments. I am totally doing a 2-showing day, and I'm wearing all pink to Oppenheimer. I don't care. And those are your entertainment stories for Wednesday, July 5th. What's your go-to Independence Day movie that's not Independence Day? And speaking of Independence Day, check out the latest episode of Cinefix's Top 100 on, you guessed it, Independence Day. I'm Stella Chung, and I'll see you next time.